Welcome back to my 5th episode monologue series. This is just me having fun. I don't really have much of an audience. This is more so a learning experience for me to really kind of, learn the craft on what I'm getting into. But at the same time, if anyone is intrigued by it, then absolutely thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate all of this. The most important part, I think, of today's episode is going to be recapping the UFC Fight Night Imavov versus Dolidze fight card that we had discussed on Wednesday or Thursday. I made my predictions. We made a parlay on Bet365. And did we win? Did we lose? We're here to find out. So thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get right into it. I do know that for the first fight of the night, which also is the second week in a row, I've gotten the first fight of the night wrong. So the parlay has gotten tossed out as soon as we get started. I picked. Let's see. Let's pull it up. I picked Thomas Peterson to get the victory, and Jamal Pogues won via decision. 3 rounds. We lost immediately. And that's fine. We're not here to necessarily make money. We're here to just have fun. And if we make money in the process, then that's excellent. But I just love the process of, trying to go perfect. So this is going to be another week where we did not go perfect. As far as UFC cards for 2024 go, we are 0-3. I expect that trend will continue. Hopefully by the end of 2024, we're able to at least hold up a number 1 or a number 2. That would be fantastic amid, I imagine, 40-something cards. I don't want to imagine that the UFC would pump out, there's 52 weeks in a year. I don't think the UFC would pump out 50 UFC cards in a year. So somewhere in the late 40s. Either way, hopefully we're able to hold up. We're 2-47 or something, later on. But right now, let's go ahead and talk about what happened. So, I'm going to go ahead and go on the record and say I missed most of the UFC card this week outside of the main card. It was my grandfather's 90th birthday. He turned 90 years old. That means he was born in 1934, man. Alonzo Allen. What an incredible honor it was to attend your birthday. Thank you so much, for all of the wisdom that you have instilled in me. I love my grandfather so much. He's been there for me every single time I've ever needed to count on him. So you are the man. You've taught me so much. I can't thank you enough, and I will gladly miss a UFC card for you. That being said, though, we're going to get into the UFC fight. So we missed the first one. Thomas Peterson loses via decision. That's fine. Next fight, Markel Medeiros wins via decision. Give us a victory on that one. I predicted that Medeiros would upset Quinones, and that's exactly what happened. Or no, he wouldn't upset him, that he would just retain his, streak. Next fight was the upset. I predicted that Luana Carolina would get the victory over Stoliarenko. As long as Carolina was able to keep Stoliarenko from taking her to the ground and submitting her, she would win the matchup standing up. It looks like that's exactly what happened, as she got the victory. 3rd round, 4 minutes and 52 seconds left. That means it was almost the end of the freaking fight. 8 seconds left in the fight, and Carolina was awarded the victor. So, salute to you, Carolina. We got that one right. That makes us 2-1. Li Jiangyong versus Blake Builder. We definitely went with Li Jiangyong. He was 10-1 at the time of the fight with Builder. Now he is 11-1, got the decision victory. Tembo Gorimbo versus Pete Rodriguez. We win Gorimbo. Who gets the knockout? In the first round, Gorimbo. Come on. Tell me I don't watch UFC or I don't know the fighters. I don't understand matchups. Here we go. We've only missed, at this point, one fight. We are, what? Madero, Carolina, Zheng Yong, Gorimbo. We're 4-1. We're looking great until we get to the next fight. The undefeated Azat Maksum versus Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson, I remember saying, was on the midst of getting booted out of the UFC because he was on a 3-fight losing streak. Like I said, we only reflect on the last 3 previous fights. He could have been on an even further losing streak. We're only going to focus on the previous 3. 3-fight losing streak versus Azat Maksum. 17-0. Maksum loses via decision to Charles Johnson. I mean, that's fine. It is what it is. We missed another one. That makes us 4-2 for the night. That's fine. On to the next one. Oh, and this next one was the biggest heartbreak of them all. When I made my card predictions, I love to pick the fighters that I'm honestly a fan of. And in this card, Fight Night, Diana Belbitsa. Oh man, I really, really was putting my faith in you. This is not to say that the result means that I'm no longer a fan. You are an incredible fighter. You're an incredible striker in the UFC. But unfortunately, man, in the final, literally 4 minutes and 59 seconds were finished, which means there was 1 second left in the first round. Molly McCann sneaks in an armbar, twists Diana Belbitsa's arm to an unthinkable direction, not anything natural. She's forced to tap out. It looks dislocated. I hope it's not broken. We haven't heard from her at this time yet whether, it was dislocated or broken. We only hope the absolute best for Belbitsa's recovery. But she did lose via submission to Molly McCann. So the fan in me says, congratulations, McCann. You've bounced back. You dropped down a straw weight. So kudos to you. Good luck to you. But Diana Belbitsa, we hate to see that happen over here on the show. I hope you bounce back. Should you decide to do so, you have many avenues ahead of you, whether you want to continue your UFC career or whatever you want to do. You have our full support. All we wish is that you have a speedy recovery. I mean, that was wicked to watch. It was hard to watch, and I'm personally just so sorry to have seen it go that way. Uh, as someone who honestly believed that you would win this fight on the decision, should it go to the cards after the third round. Um, yeah, just sorry to see all that. I mean, it's not pretty to see one of your favorite fighters wincing in pain on the mat. Where she literally has to hold her arm like this because we don't know what happened. If it was a break, if it was a dislocation. It looked like a dislocation. It just got pulled out of place and then it kind of snapped back in. But I'm no doctor. Diana Belbitsa, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And nothing but the best. You're the best. We'll move on to the next fight. Gilbert Urbina versus Charles Radke. Got another one right. Let's go, Radke. Wait, before we continue on, we need to go ahead and reflect on the prelim cards. How do we do in the prelims? So we got Medeiros, we got Carolina, we got Zhang Yong, we got Garimbo, and then we missed Pogues. Wait, We missed Pogues. We missed Johnson. And we missed McCann. So we actually went 4-3 on the prelims. That is not very pretty. Moving on to the main card, Charles Radke versus Gilbert Urbina. We picked Radke. It was kind of a toss up on who would end up the victor in this one. Radke got the dub. That makes us 5-3 on the night. And then the only fight of the night that ended in a no contest, Alyashkov Kizirev versus Mahmoud Muradov. A no contest in the first round. Kizirev's finger ended up going into Muradov's eye. He was not able to come back to his wits, and unfortunately, the fight had to end there. So that one technically doesn't count. There were 13 fights in the night. We made predictions for 13 fights. We picked Kizirev to win that one, but it was a no contest, so we're going to scrap that one. And there was 12 fights of the night at this point. So we move on to the women's flyweight. Viviane Araujo versus Natalia Silva. I said Silva by whatever she wants. However, Araujo put up one hell of a fight. I watched this one. Like I said, I went to my grandfather's 90th birthday party, so I was watching this one on my sister's fiance's phone in the car ride back home to where we live. We traveled about an hour and a half away, not too far. And at the time, by the time we left the city to head back home, it was the start of the Belbitsa versus McCann fight. So that was around 6:45, 7ish. So I was expecting to miss most of the main card at that point. But luckily he had it pulled up ESPN Plus on his phone, and I was actually able to watch all of the main card with I saw the Radke victory, we saw the eye poke, I saw the Silva victory, and it was actually pretty awesome, considering what I was just discussing about missing the majority of the main card or the prelims, which is completely fine. Next fight, we knew Silva was gonna get that one done. Araujo put up a great fight, but Silva just outstruck her as we expected to happen. Silva is an incredible fighter. Remember the name at women's flyweight. Natalia Silva's gonna end up in the top 5 one day, so maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Next fight of the night, Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. I think I butchered his name the first time I actually was making the video last week. But Randy Brown getting the first round victory, man, with at 3 minutes and 17 seconds into the fight. Laid him out. It was either a wicked right-handed straight or it was a left-handed straight. Either way, put him to sleep, man. Knocked his lights completely off. So shout out to Randy Brown. We got that one right. As far as the main card is concerned, we got Radke right. We got Silva right. We got Randy Brown right. We're 3-0 on the main card. Up to the co-main event. We picked Drew Dober because, like always, if I'm a fan of you as a fighter, I'm going to choose you to win your fight. I don't care who your matchup is. And unfortunately, Drew Dober didn't get it done via decision. Renato Moisano got it done. 3rd round decision. Dober was definitely piecing him up at the start. Moisano decided, hey, let's take this fight on the ground. Let's fight MMA. And Dober was not able to answer. He lost via decision, and it is what it is. So now we're what is that? That makes us 3-1. 3-1. Not bad. And now we're at the final fight of the night. Roman Dolidze, 11-3, versus Nasruddin Imavov, 12-4. Who's gonna win this fight? What a matchup. Dolidze is a master class on the ground. Imavov can do both striking and he has a little bit of wrestling experience. My picks was Imavov to get this one finished. And that's exactly what we got right. Imavov, that makes us what? 4-1. Wow, yeah. 4-1 in the main card. Nasruddin Imavov getting the decision victory over Roman Dolidze in the fifth round. Dolidze, he low key kind of didn't really turn it on until the end of the fight. It felt like around the fourth and the fifth round. I would give 1, 2, and 3 to Imavov. Imavov was about to knock his lights out in the first round. I kind of wish he would have gotten the finish, but he didn't. Um, Midway through the fight, Imavov did throw a kick to the head of Dolidze. He had one hand on the mat, which technically indicated that he was a downed fighter. And after that happened, I believe Herb Dean was the official. He had to separate Imavov from the corner of Dolidze because Chris Curtis, a middleweight fighter in the UFC top 15, was cornering Dolidze and he was chirping back and forth with Imavov. Both of those fighters had a previous bout that ended in a no contest. I believe it was a very similar kind of thing. I want to say it was I want to say it was a clash of heads. And they never they never fought again. Let's Google that real quick. Yeah, they clashed heads. So it was just ruled a no contest. We never rematched the fight. We moved forward, you know what I'm saying? That was at UFC 289. We move on. Chris Curtis is cornering Dolidze, and then another controversial call happens, and now both of these fighters are chirping back and forth. So be it, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. But what does mean something is, Dolidze having his hand on the mat and getting kicked in the head. It's an interesting sector for the UFC right now. I know the state of California is working to potentially outlaw fighters putting one hand on the mat on purpose just to indicate that they're down because that prevents them from being eligible for, kicks to the head, knees to the head. And it's it's kind of become a strategy option. Well, as long as my hands on the ground, this guy can't hurt me. So if California passes it to where we get rid of that rule, keeping one hand on the ground, then I expect the rest of the other states that have sanctioned MMA bouts to also kind of follow suit. And maybe we'll see that become a worldwide thing. And if that's the case, then, keeping one hand, I mean, I'm talking literally like your fingers on the mat. That's how far away you are from the mat. You're just able to touch it with your fingers. That prevents you from getting an striked in the head. um if they change that rule and one hand doesn't indicate that you're down anymore, we could be in store for some pretty brutal KOs. I'm talking straight knee to the temple, knee to the side of the head, because you only have one hand on the mat. Here you go, bam, KO victory. We could be in store for some pretty wicked knockouts looking forward. Um, but that brings us to the final fight of the night. We finished with a total of 8-12. Pretty solid. We went 75% on the night, not 100%, which is what would actually like win us some money potentially. But 75% is pretty solid. I will take it. Unfortunately, there was the injury, the eye poke, and you know, it is what it is. This stuff happens in MMA. It's completely unintentional, assumed, and I mean, as early as that fight was, it was in the first round still, and there was an eye poke, and he was just never able to kind of regain conscious or regain his sight. I would almost expect them to have a rematch in the coming weeks. You don't want a fighter to have to drop weight again within like 2 or 3 weeks. So they'll probably fight each other later on down the road, but we'll discuss that when we get there. Um, the only thing about UFC Fight Night that bothered me the most was seeing Diana Belbita go out the way she did. I mean, it's just when you're a fan of a fighter and you see that happen. I mean, but it's not even necessarily just a fan of a fighter, a fan of any sports team. The Philadelphia 76ers are losing Joel Embiid. He's going to be having surgery on a torn meniscus. So, anytime you have to see, people that you're a fan of have to take a step back from the sport that they love, it's not a good feeling. Um, Even to Joel Embiid, like we wish you a speedy recovery here. These things are not what being a fan of sports are about. Injuries happen, but we don't wish injuries upon anybody. That is forbidden territory. That is foul territory. I would much rather lose to the best of the best than to wish injuries and harm upon anybody. So, quick recovery to all those involved. It's unfortunate. And, hey, this fight night was a tough one. We have another one to look forward to. I'm not exactly sure what's on that card. I do know that Jack Hermanson is the main event. Let's go ahead and Google it. Jack Hermanson versus Joe Pyfer. Co-main, Dan Ige versus Andre Touch we know where we're going with that one. My name is Andre. His name is Andre. It's obvious. We're going with the touchy Philly. This is actually not a bad card. Albert Duraev is on here. Brad Tavares, who got the victory over Chris Weidman in his last fight, fighting Gregory Rodriguez. Solid matchup. Michael Johnson's back on the card. What else do we have? Arman Petrosian. He's 9-2. Not bad. Where are the women's fights? Let's go to the prelims, I suppose. Only one women's fight on the entire card. Loma Luke Boonme versus Bruna Brazil. I don't know anything about either of these two women. Perhaps I've seen them fight in the past and I don't recall it, so I'll have to go more in detail, and look up their fight history when they fought last in the UFC to truly understand, you know, who they are. I might look up one of their fights and be like, "Oh shit, I remember that fight." But for right now, I don't recall it. Um, UFC Fight Night, Imavov versus Dolidze, 8 for 12. I'll personally take it. Hopefully, I'm able to go perfect on this next one. But in the meantime, what else happened this week? Uh, on a previous episode of Yakuza Dead Souls, I mentioned that I had finished Saltburn. Interesting movie. Not one of not one that I would recommend for real, for real. I started Mr. and Mrs. Smith today with Childish Gambino, but I'm just a tremendous Childish Gambino fan. Donald Glover, music, acting. He's our generation's Will Smith. So, and the show was great. Hero, what's his name? Hiro Murai, I believe, directed. Let me double check that. Is it Hero? Yeah, Hiro Murai directed the episode of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. How many is he going to do? I'm curious. Maybe it's one of those things that, like, yeah, okay, so he directed episode 1 and episode 2. And then I don't know any of these other names until we get to episode 8, which was directed by Donald Glover himself. So 1, 2, and 8, I know I'm going to be in for an absolute store for, and I look forward to what the other directors have to offer. Hiro Murai, of course, directed Atlanta on FX, one of my favorite shows of all time. Donald Glover, Zazie Beetz, Lakeith Stanfield, and Brian Tyree Henry. I think it went 3 seasons, maybe even it went 4 seasons. Actually, I do know it went 4 seasons. Atlanta is an it's a perfect show. The only show in my life that I would say is better than Atlanta. And oh my god, man, I mean that's tough, bro. It would have to be like the it would have to be living through Chappelle's show again while it was airing live on television and you don't know what to expect. And we get a new episode of Chappelle's show. That's the only show I can think of that would eclipse Atlanta in my mind. It's like literally Atlanta, Chappelle show, and then Kung Fu. I love Kung Fu, which is just some uh dialogue. What do they call it? Voiceovers of like kung fu movies. So with hip hop artists doing the voiceovers. But anyway, we move on from that. It's been a solid week. Grandpa turned 90 years old. That's incredible. The oldest Allen in the family. Oh well, his he has a sister that is older than him. Um, she is 94, I believe. So I can only hope to live up to the standards of my grandparent. His, of course, my grandmother, his wife is still alive. She's turning 89, I believe, in July, maybe 88. I don't know for certain, but either way, I mean, that's still incredible honor. For me personally, the thought to live that long seems so, foreign. I just turned 31 a few weeks ago. To imagine turning 31 three times over is like, right, I can't even comprehend that. That was just a life's blessing at that point to just make it that far. And in the meantime, I'll do the best I can to be the best person I can be along the way. And hopefully, this segment that I talk about over time will be able to spark some interest. We'll be able to get some conversations from other people who want to engage further. I'll be able to interview people. Let's make this a live feed thing. Hey, how does it feel to be a WWE wrestler? Hey, how does it feel to be a retired NBA All Star? Hey, how does it feel to be the MMA champion? The sky's the limit. As of right now, this is just a learning experience for me. I record these things, I edit them, I upload them, and we go from there. I'm not looking to blow up overnight. I don't expect that, but I do enjoy the process. And that's what it's all about, falling in love with the process. If work doesn't feel like work, then you're in a great place. So as long as I'm enjoying that, then I'm in a fabulous place. I will keep doing these weekly monologues. I will keep streaming Yakuza Dead Souls until I beat the game. Who knows? I could end up streaming something else. I've already started my Twitch account. I don't know if it's like twitch.com/naturally Andre, but either way, I've played some Star Wars Battlefront 2 on there. Probably the best game for me on multiplayer, but you know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter. Like I said, this is all still just like the learning curve for me. Give me a few years at this and we will be at that level. I will have Margot Robbie. I will have Asa Gonzalez. I will have Paris Jackson. And I will have John Jones on here talking to me, and we will be friends among friends. So thank you for tuning in to another installment of the Naturally Andre monologue series. I believe this was episode 5. And I look forward to. There will be a video breakdown of the next UFC card Thursday or Friday, maybe even Wednesday. We'll just have to wait and see. But thank you for tuning in, and I will see you midway throughout the week. Probably, definitely midway through the week, playing a new installment of Yakuza Dead Souls. But most importantly, we will be back here next Sunday recapping it all. And hopefully, I'm able to make some money. If not, so be it. We'll try again the week after. Sayonara.